through fire with shadows on my heels. Scars turn to stories that taught me to feel. Lost in the silence, found in the flame. Now wear my battle cry without shame. This isn't the end, it's where I begin. A soul that remembers the fire within. Welcome back to another episode of A Warrior Spirit, brought to you by Praxis 33. I'm your host, Daryl Snow. Let's dive in. Sometimes life sends us on an unplanned detour, and often those detours involve money. And my guest today is passionate about empowering others to take control of their money story and their future. Trish Ramirez is a money coach with over 35 years of experience helping people build financial strength and resilience. She calls herself the Monarch Money Maven, but I call her a friend. Trish, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here.
This is actually your second time, so I'm glad that you came back to give us kind of a little update. I appreciate that.
Yes. Yes, I love doing this. This is great.
So, you've been in the money business for a long time, 30 over 35 years, so must have been right out of high school.
Yes. I was in
um,
kindergarten. No.
Kindergarten, yeah. Uh, but prior to being a money manager, you also were a former drag racer. Is that true?
Yes. Yes. So I was fortunate enough at the time to get exposed to that, to drag race. And what's interesting is it's funny how life it's kind of like a race. I mean, I won I won my first race my rookie year, which is very unusual. I got rookie of the year. But then once that happened, the next 5 years, it was really hard to get back up to that spot again because everything happened so quickly. So it's just interesting. Like it's like you always have to pay your dues one way or
Yep.
another, even if you do really well the first year. So it was a lot of fun, but it was not easy. But it was a lot of fun drag racing.
Well, it's also a sport dominated by men. So not only do you have to battle yourself, you have to battle the good old boys club of a men's society, and try to break in. So was that easy for you or difficult for you?
Well, I had a lot of supportive people. I had a team that helped me, and they were all men, so that was really helpful. What I did is I went to a drag racing school in Pomona, California. Wanted to see how well I would do. I was one of the top drivers in my class to go a full quarter mile at the end of the day. I've always liked driving. If I know it's a straight line, but I've always enjoyed doing that. And then I don't know. Maybe it's just the way I was raised. My dad was always, "You can do whatever you want to do." So there's a part, and if someone said you cannot, that just made me want to do it more. So I do have this thing in me that just wants to, prove everybody wrong. And when I would go race, I always, which is usually well during the day, I would always have the dark visor because I felt like that maybe Darth Vader. I don't know. It just made me feel like no one can see my eyes, and people would, other drivers, men drivers would say, "I can't believe that's really you in there." When they would meet me outside the car or see me outside the car. So I had those are the little things that I would do myself to act like, okay, I'm now in my drag racing mode and this is the way I'm going to be. But it can be intimidating. They play games on the starting line, but for some reason I really enjoyed that part. And it's funny because being in the financial industry, it's the same kind of thing. It's very male dominated and you have to have thick skin. You can't let little things bother you. So it's very similar in life, same as like drag racing.
So what lessons, because I can see the parallels of being in a man's dominated world. You do have to have thick skin. You got to learn to play the game. You got to learn different social skills to kind of get along. What type of lessons do you feel were most important as you transition from a drag racing world to financial support world?
I think a lot of it is to be really open um, to criticism or somebody critiquing you, instead of taking it personal, you have to be really open. I my mentor, I still have a mentor. I think it's important that everybody has a mentor. Sometimes he comes down really hard on me, and I might cringe, but I try to think, okay, this is feedback for me. This is for me to be a better person, to be a better advisor, wealth manager. And it was the same with drag racing. I didn't really know that much about the motor or what parts went to where. So if I was driving and something happened, I had to be able to explain that to the team, to the crew, to tell them this is what's wrong. And they're like, well, what's wrong? Well, I heard this noise. So it's really to learn your craft no matter what you do, because yes, I can drive, but I need to know the inside and the outside of everything in order to be really good at it. And that's the same with the financial industry. Whatever you do, make sure that you really know the inside and the outside, study it, educate yourself, but be open to learning new things. It might not be what you think you need to know at the time. And that's where maybe we get defensive, but you really need to be open to listening to those that know more than you do. And it takes a little bit, I guess, a little bit of self-confidence to know it's not you personally. There's someone's just really trying to help you.
Well, you also have to take your ego out
Right,
because,
exactly.
if you're I think all coaches should have coaches,
Hmm.
and those of us who have a coach who don't challenge us or don't push us or don't give us new information, then they're really not benefiting us as a coach. But in order for that partnership to work, as the recipient, you really got to take your ego out of it and go, okay, this person is there to make me better. I
Right,
can't be better if I don't understand my faults or know my faults or where I'm needing to improve, not necessarily faults, but where I need to improve. And if we can't receive that in a fashion that, you know, we don't take offense to, then why are we bothering with a
right.
mentor or a coach? Right?
Exactly.
If we already know it
Exactly.
all, why do we need someone else who knows more?
That's right. And that's a good thing. You bring up a really good point about you need someone who will challenge you. It's not you don't want someone to always tell you, "Oh, you're doing such a wonderful job." And maybe you are, but you really do need someone to challenge you in order to grow. And that's what drag racing taught me. It was my first time that I really had someone challenge me, whether it be, and it was not only racing against other people, but like you said, challenging myself, being better and trying to do better. And especially when I won so quickly, then it was so hard to get back to that again. And that was very challenging. And that really made me look inside myself. Am I doing this for fun? Because I would get really upset when
Yeah.
I would lose. I was not the best loser. And my mom would, because my mom went with me to all the races, and she would say, this is supposed to be fun, so it's just learning to be a good sport, because the fun thing is when we would go out on the weekends, I was able to sign autographs. Then Monday morning it's back to real life, no one wanted my autograph. But it's trying to just stay humble and learning, and just be open to what's going on around you, and appreciative to what you're able, what I have this opportunity to do this. So it was.
I've been an athlete my whole life, not a high level athlete, but an athlete nonetheless. And so I found in the sports that I participated in, the people who found instantaneous success really struggled when it went away, really struggled when they couldn't repeat it, as opposed to those of us who had to work really hard for any type of success. We understood the ups and downs and how to, get back up and how to fight again. Did you kind of go through that since you were
Okay.
right at the top right away?
Yes, I did. I went, and it's funny because this is before I really knew anything about manifesting, or which, I grew up religious, and I believe in God, and prayer, I feel like, is a way of manifesting. So I did do that. But what I would do every night is I would sit in the car and go through everything mentally, and I would try to do it at least 10 times. That was before. And then I won the race. And then I thought, oh, I won. I don't need to do that anymore. And I look back, and that was my downfall, because I thought I already did it. I don't need to do that anymore. So it was really hard, and I did struggle, and I struggled with the team because then we would argue about it's your fault, the car did this, or it's your fault, you were late on the starting line. So it was to me a struggle, and I could have done things different. You always look back and realize you could have done things different.
So how does that translate into, because now you want to empower others to take control of their life, and specifically with money, because that's what you're about. But um, you know, as I mentioned at the top of the show, a lot of we all have detours in life where our life rarely goes in a straight line, and a lot of those detours do involve money. So how did you get so impassioned with helping others resolve their money story and become resilient in their money future? What triggered that aspect of you wanting to help others?
Well, I didn't grow up with a silver spoon. I didn't. It was my parents. They loved me, and so mom and dad, nothing bad. But I didn't grow up with a lot of money, and and I didn't really notice that till I went to school, and that's when it seems like you notice. And as I got older, I grew up in like northern California in the foothills. I just wanted to get out of where I was at. I lived in Marysville, um, and so everything that I learned, I kind of learned the hard way. But what I realized is not, I'm not the only one. Not everybody grows up with money, or not everybody in their family really talk about money. And so through my experience, I've seen a lot of other people go through the same thing. And so, through research, through the work that I do, I found different tools that I can use, and I really wanted to share that with other people because it can have an effect on marriage. Marriage is, I mean, 50%, it's a lot of times it's because of money. Different relationships with either parents or siblings, or somebody dies and there's money. It seems like money can really affect a lot of relationships in different ways. So that's what really empowered me to want to empower others to learn more about money and see how that affects their relationship.
And one of the things that happened in your own life, you to use your racing analogy, you had a unexpected pit stop of your own. You were married and then divorced.
Mhm.
Was it a sudden, unexpected divorce, or was it a slow burn towards the end?
I think it was a slow burn towards the end, and I think I may have used racing as a reason why, because we were racing at the time. And but that wasn't really the reason why. And I know a lot of people get married young and they stay together, but it's very rare. And I was 21 when I got married, so it ran its course. And I think that, of course, this is my truth. It's I feel like I started kind of maturing, and maybe that wasn't in line. I changed as a person, I evolved, and that wasn't the person that he married, and he even said that. So I just think that we just kind of grew apart. I know that's a cliche, but that was another point in my life when I realized, okay, what assets do we have? Because I was 35 when we got divorced. And really we had all the toys, we had the race car, we had, jet ski. And then when you look at what do I really have as far as investment, and I worked in the financial industry, it wasn't a whole lot. So that was another wake up call for me of, okay, what am I doing? What am I doing with my money? And so that was a detour. But as in everything else, I feel like I've come out better on the other side of all of that.
How long till you got remarried then?
So I met my love of my life now. We knew, so my first marriage, we knew each other 6 months, we eloped. My husband now, we've known each other for like 20, it's been over 23 years, and we've been married 12. So I knew him for about 11 years before we actually got married. So I feel like we really know each other because we've been through everything possible that you could think of, and we're both mature, adults. It was his first marriage. He was 54 and I was 40 something. He's 7 years older than me, 8 years older. So it was taking that time to really know each other. So I feel like that was really a huge difference, knowing who I was marrying.
Were you friends with him while you were married to your first husband?
No, I didn't know him then. I didn't know him at the time. No.
So it's unusual for the first marriage to be at 54, so
Hmm.
that's a little late. So he was just like preparing and waiting until Trish was
That's what I
ready.
said.
And
He was just waiting. Yes, which
yeah,
he had a son. He had a son, but he never married, and he raised his son. But that's what we always joke is that he was just waiting for me to come along. There were a lot of sad ladies in the house because of it, but but I won.
there you go. See, still in the winner circle. You're
Still in
there.
the winner's circle. Yes, yes, that's right.
Uh,
That's right.
and as I mentioned, life throws these curveballs, and divorce wasn't your only curveball. You worked a long time for one company, and then out of nowhere, they kind of just let you
Yes,
go. And that
yes,
was, you were in your 50s?
yes. I was in my 50s, so I can't really go into details of what happened, but I what I've realized is this happens to a lot of people in their 50s, or it just seems like my friends or people that I know in their 50s. It seemed like there were three or four of us that this happened to, and that can really, because you're kind of trucking along thinking, okay, everything's fine, you're already making plans for that European vacation in 2 years or whatever, and then next thing you know, it's done. Whatever the cause or whatever happened, it's done. And so that was really devastating to me. And I mean, that really hits you in your ego, your self confidence, and it was really really hard. But I have my mentor and my husband that were so supportive, and they just were supportive, kept telling me that I could do it. So, fortunately, my clients came with me and everything worked out. But it was really a time to reflect on me. What have I done so far in my life? I feel like 30s and 50s kind of, and I don't know, we'll see what the rest of it does. But it seems like those times you reflect on where am I at in my life? What have I accomplished? And it really just makes you look at yourself to see where you're at.
I know I've been in and out of the corporate world. I've been in and out of the corporate world because I hate the corporate politics and all the BS that goes with it. And, so I've been an entrepreneurial most of my life while I'm in and out of the corporate world. Because I dip back in thinking there's, security and,
Hmm.
straight, forward paycheck and blah, blah, blah. And then I get in there and go, well, this really sucks because there's the politics and there's the headaches and there's all this other corporate crap that you got to deal with. But in the midst of all of that, I have seen a lot of people in their 50s, and it happened to my mom too. She worked at the bank for 30 some years, was, top of their food chain. And then
Hmm.
suddenly she reached her mid 50s, and suddenly they were finding mistakes that she was
Hmm.
making. Suddenly she was doing things incorrectly. And then now they had cause and, had fired her
Right.
because you can't fire for ageism, but oh, if they're
Right.
not performing well, you can fire them. But, for 30 years, she was great. And I saw how it affected my mother, and how it really devastated her. And, she ended up getting another job outside the financial industry, and, going on to be a little happier because she could still deal with
Mhm.
people. But I think ageism happens and corporations get away with it because they can hire two young kids for the price of what they're paying for you. And so then suddenly they find reasons to get rid of you. When you're dealing with your clients who are in that situation, what do you tell them?
Well, most it's funny because a lot of my clients are entrepreneurs themselves or business owners. And fortunately I was able to become a business owner. So this was one of the best things that could have ever happened to me. So it's almost, and I think we've talked about this, you walk through the fire and you become even better than what you thought you were before. And so my thought is this too shall pass. It's actually, there's something on the other side that you may not even know that's there, that is going to just be so much better than you could ever imagine, which is what I feel happened to me. Because this was something I thought 5 years from now I wanted to do, but this has just been the best thing for to happen to me. So I think there's a lot of opportunity there. Of course, when it's happening, you're not thinking that, but now it's almost been a year. This was one of the best things. And that's what I would tell my clients. This too shall pass. There's something out there that you may not even realize that's a better opportunity, or there's like a whole new opportunity you may not even think of that, what one of the things doing financial plans is I try to get people to dream about, if you didn't have them, have to worry about money, what do you really want to do? So that would be something I would ask my clients, what is it, something you really wanted to do that maybe now you have an opportunity to do that?
So how are you writing your own comeback story? What are you doing that makes your life move forward with this new opportunity?
So my husband and I, we opened up our own company. So now we have our own company. Um, it's funny because we're working on the website, and now I'm going to have it may not be, you know, the Monarch title that I had for my money or mindset, but that's going to be part of my website along with investing. And then I also am a certified divorce financial analyst, so that's another part that I can add. So I feel like I have a lot more freedom and flexibility where I can put everything under one umbrella, whereas before I kind of was doing two separate things. So my husband's even talked about maybe doing some, coaching, men coaching. And so it's something that we're creating together, which I'm very excited to do, where we can both coach and help others, because that's something we both really enjoy doing.
Well, you really hit the I don't want to say the trifecta because you only had two, but you hit the two major points: money and divorce, both are which
Right.
sometimes intertwined and caused by one another. so
Yes,
so you can get the
exactly.
money management people that you want, and you can get the divorce people who are divorcing because of money, and you get
And
the
maybe I should look towards the people that are going to get married to help them not get a divorce.
right. Yeah,
Instead
you
of
could
counseling,
do the money counseling before they get there,
Yes.
which I think, all joking aside, is really super important because our my ex-wife, my first wife, my starter kit, um uh she was horrible with money, and I bailed her out of everything she was in to try to get her, back on solid ground. And had I had the awareness of her relationship to money prior to the wedding, we might have had different
Mhm,
vows.
mhm,
They
yeah,
might they might not have been as, extensive as they were, but that conversation never happened, you know?
right.
And I think too many people go in thinking that they'll change the other person, or, once they're married, it'll become different.
Mhm.
It won't, you know?
Yeah, and that's a tough conversation because, that's when you're in love, and then and I know maybe it comes up in the back of our minds, but we don't wanna bring it up because everything's going so well, we're gonna get married, what if we uncover something? So that is a very difficult conversation to have, but I think it's really important, just like you said, very important to do
Yeah,
that.
my wife is very much adamant about, the money talk ahead of time, because you don't want that to be, since it is a common factor in divorce. If you talk about it prior, you eliminate that it
Mhm.
becomes, or you mitigate it to a smaller percentage, that it becomes the reason for your issues within the marriage, because
Right,
you've already
right,
had the knowledge and the conversation. So
exactly.
I don't think it's going into it thinking, oh, we're gonna fail, so we got to talk about money. No, we're gonna
No.
strengthen our relationship by having a better understanding about our money. You know,
Right. And at least how one person might see money a certain way and the other person might see money in a certain way. And if you're not communicating that, then there's, cause for argument. So it's good to understand a person's point of view of what, maybe one person doesn't think spending $1,000 without discussing it is okay. And the other one may think, well, wait a minute. But if they don't have the conversation, then they don't know that, and until something happens, and then it's not good.
I'm gonna switch topics real quick on you, for just a couple minutes. I know that outside of money and drag racing, there are a few other things that have been important to your life, and Uh, I know that the Rotary,
Yes.
I'm going to forgive the cowboy jersey for now, just because we're friends.
Okay, go Cowboys.
Yeah. I spent 7 years living in Dallas, and it was either cowboy season or cowboy season. They forgot that they had other sports teams, right? So,
Yes.
but I'll forgive you for now. But the Rotary is
Yes.
important. And why was this such a important aspect of your life? Because I used to be a member of the Rotary. I had a great friend who was 30 years in the Rotary, and understand it, but why was it important to you?
It was important to give back, and I believe that growing up, with God in my life, that's something that we learn is to serve others, or we want to serve others. And Rotary, what really impressed me is that they're an international organization, and there's no religion or politics involved. So it doesn't matter what, what your belief is, but as long as you're giving back to others. And the people there are very impressive. I was networking. I was trying to find all these different networking groups, but this Rotary, I was able to bring my husband, my family to the different functions. They were all welcomed. It wasn't just me by myself. So family oriented, and that was all really important to me. And now, I mean, we serve the community. I know a lot of different people from doing that in the community, and it's just something important. I think is just giving back to
Did you
others.
work your way up the
The
governmental
Rotary
chain,
ladder.
the board,
Yes. Yes,
corporate ladder?
so this one is when I was president. So I became president 2019, 2020, which was very difficult because that was during the shutdown. And that was the first time I used Zoom. Never used Zoom before. And we had meetings on Zoom. We'd never done that before. We raised money on Zoom. We did all kinds of different things on Zoom. And then I was president 2021 and 2022. So I think this was 2021, 2022 when I was president a second time, and we could actually go out and see people. And this was at the awards dinner, I believe. I think that's where this was. So and we are all supposed to wear our sports regalia, which I'm in 49er territory. So I stand out like a sore thumb, but that's okay.
You're a brave woman.
Yes. I had my husband with me, so
And there
he's a
you
big
go.
guy. He's a muscular guy. So this was great. And like I said, I could bring my husband with me. What other organizations can you go to? You network, and you can bring your whole family. I think it's great.
So, what was your proudest accomplishment as president? Because, like I said, my friend was in it for 30 years. She was president for many of those years, off and on, as well as other positions. So, what was your proudest accomplishment as a Rotarian?
Thank you for watching Prospera TV Network. We hope you're enjoying the show. We'll be right back after this commercial break.
What was your proudest accomplishment as a Rotarian?
Well, to me, maybe this kind of might be a little bit selfish, but my personal development as president, where you have to lead your club. When we were doing Zoom, it was to keep everyone inspired through Zoom. That's not the easiest thing to do, to raise money. We did different fundraisers on Zoom, and we try to get like our whole district to come on Zoom. Um, and it was fun being creative with the different Rotarians on how can we make this work. And then just being able to speak in public. I know I think you said you're kind of used to speaking in public, but that's one of the hardest things, for people to do, is to speak in public. And to do that for us, it's every 2 weeks, it really helped me to get comfortable with speaking in public. And there's just so many different skills that I learned from leading, speaking in public, learning how to run a meeting, um, learning how to run a board, all of that I think is just something that I got to do for free.
Yeah.
I didn't have to go to school for that. So there's just a lot of things you can learn also, and getting to know everybody. I mean,
People would
and my
rather jump off a building than speak in public, for
yes,
sure.
yes.
So those are good. Do you think some of your drag racing life helped in that?
So because you have to have a little bit of I don't care in order to do it, not be too concerned with how you look or um, what do people think of me kind of thing. So I believe that it just kind of toughened me up for this, for being able to do this. And coming up, you have to be able to have ideas that people may think that's crazy, but that's okay. It's okay to be a little crazy.
Well, it allowed you to wear a Cowboys jersey in
That's
49er
right.
country. That's pretty good. Another thing that was, and you mentioned this just a little bit ago, but the Monarch mindset. By the way, I love the logo as a former graphic designer. That's
Oh,
really
thank
beautiful. So, talk a little bit about the Monarch mindset?
So what I loved how I came up with this concept, my husband and I both did it together, is you think about, it's a caterpillar that turns into a butterfly. And then the monarch butterfly, it has this, it travels from a place, I can't remember everything specifically, in Mexico, and it comes all the way up. I don't remember if it's to Canada, but to North America. So it has this whole um cycle that it goes through, and that's what I feel like we go through in life with our mindset, and how we can be a caterpillar, start small, maybe not that pretty, but then we grow into something beautiful, and our life, become beautiful, and we can create what we want. So to me, that's what the monarch mindset meant, is just, going from caterpillar to a butterfly, and it's up to us. We can do what we want to do. And like you said, money's such a big issue that I just thought it was important to really empower others with that, with money, a money mindset.
Well, that the Monarch, it does travel from virtually Mexico up to Canada on its own GPS that
Yes.
it innately goes to. And I love the idea of the caterpillar and the butterfly, and I use that analogy a lot in my own coaching uh,
Mm,
clients. But I talk about it a little differently than some coaches because everyone talks about the transformation and how you turn into this beautiful butterfly,
hmm
but very few talk about that actual transformation in the gooey, messy middle part.
mm,
Like if you actually know what a caterpillar goes through in order to become that beautiful butterfly, that's a whole lot of messy middle that people kind of just skate over. And it's part of the transformation that actually makes it beautiful.
yes.
And
And
the
that
other
is so true. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
and no, and the other part of the butterfly is that people don't understand that if you help a butterfly out of its cocoon, it will not live. It will die
Oh,
because it's the struggle of breaking through the cocoon that strengthens its wings enough to fly. So you have to do the work yourself in order to make that beautiful transformation to be the butterfly that can live and fly.
yes.
So it's a bigger process than just this little caterpillar to now this beautiful,
Right.
new, and it's an entirely different species and creature. So it's
Wow.
like,
Yeah, it's amazing because like you said, life is messy. I mean, I act happy right now after what I went through a year ago, but it was messy. You can ask my husband, it was messy. And I could put on the smile and the brave face, but it wasn't pretty, and that's okay. That's like what you just said. It helps you to get through it, to get through the struggles, and there's going to be more struggles in life, but just to know that it will pass, and there's something else on the other side that you may not even dreamed of, or maybe you did dream of it and it's actually coming true. So I
so
like that.
if someone were to, let's say someone knew you for your whole life, right? Or a brand new person who's never met you, how would you say that the Trish from today is different from the Trish who was a race car driver or even a little younger?
Well, I appreciate that, Trish. I don't know if I like myself as, not that I think I'm wonderful now, but I appreciate that girl now that I'm older, because there was always this little bit of resilience in her, but she didn't want to take up too much space, even though, her way was driving a race car, so that is taking up space. But let's say in a room, she wouldn't be the first one to raise her hand. But if you gave her a microphone to sing, you wouldn't get her off the stage. So there's still a part that is still me. But I think being confidence is a big part of it. Knowing who I am, um, being able to be in my skin and like myself, because I've always wanted to strive to do better. And then if I, just like when I would lose, I would be really upset because I think I took it very personal. Whereas now I realize there's so many other things important in life, like our loved ones and people we get to spend time with, and life is short. And let's just do everything that we can do now, because we have one shot at this life. And I don't think I thought about those things back then. And then I realized I'm not as smart as I thought I was. As you get older, you realize, wow, I didn't know all this information that I could have used. So, but I do appreciate her.
What do you think, other than age and being able to see life through a hindsight vision, what do you think helped with that Monarch transformation of your own the most? What do you think got you from that girl to this woman the most?
Oh, it's interesting. I think people come in your life at certain times that you don't expect. They come and go, and you might be sad when, someone's gone. But I really believe that certain people came into my life that I needed at that time during different periods of life. And um, my stepson, I've known him since he was 15, my husband's son. He had us do a leadership program in Austin, very intensive leadership program. And that changed my outlook on so many different things of life. But here I met him when he was 15. He had blue hair, and he's become this like just awesome, wise young man that's actually, saying, you guys go to this, don't walk out of the room. But I didn't think he was going to be like that at 15. He was just some kid that was on a computer, so I just feel like different people come in your life, and it that kind of helps you get through whatever you need to get through at that time, if that makes sense.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And your husband now, how has he transformed your life? Because I know from having two marriages,
Hmm.
my second wife has transformed my life immensely and made it infinitely better. And I couldn't imagine, life without her at this point. And you said yourself, the love of my life. So
Hmm.
I think you refer to your husband in that same vein. What has he done for you that you didn't have before?
Oh, I feel kind of emotional right now. He makes, I feel very safe with him. Like I said, we've been through everything that you can think of, so I can tell him what I'm feeling, and it's okay, even if it's not what he wants to hear. He's pushed me to be a better person as far as health wise. Um, he's pushed me. He's the one that said you should become a financial advisor, because I wasn't one at the time that we met. He's the one that encouraged me to do that. And so when you become a financial advisor, you don't make a lot of money at first because you have to grow your business. So he supported me through all of that. He's retired now, but he supported me through all of that. um Anything I want to do, like this podcast, like, yes, go do it. So he's very, very encouraging with me, and to me, and supportive. So he's just, there's just so many things I'm trying to think of, like, is that what you're wearing? Kind of thing. Just, make sure that I look good. He's just very supportive and in a good way. In a good way. He's just
Can you
been,
see yourself through his eyes? Because I know my wife has a hard time seeing herself through my eyes because I love and adore her and, think the world of her. And I tell her all the time. And she has a hard time seeing that person in herself because she's very much like you, where she, you know, self-critical and,
hmm
doesn't like a lot of stuff that makes her who
hmm
she is. And so I really try to get her to see what the rest of the world sees. And I'll take back to the butterfly. When the butterfly comes out of the cocoon, it can't see that it's now this beautiful monarch that
hmm
wasn't there when it went into the cocoon you know so can
hmm
you see what your husband sees?
Well, when he compliments me, sometimes I think it's just because you love me.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, I can see different things I can work on, and I think, um, I'm always maybe I don't always see that, but I appreciate him, trying to tell me that I can just see all these other things I need to do better, but, you know, that's okay.
Yeah. Well, I think it's important for us to be able to see what the rest of the world sees, especially when
Mhm,
it's good, you know,
mhm,
because we already see enough of our own bad. I think
right,
we need to be able to see the goodness that the rest of the world sees as well, you know.
mhm,
So I hope that eventually, both you and my wife get to there
yeah,
where you see what the husbands see, you know.
uh-huh.
Um, so what do you want to be known for? What do you want your legacy to say when you've long finished doing all this good work that you're doing and you've long passed? What do you want people to say about Trish Ramirez and what type of legacy do you want to have left behind?
So I heard, I'm stealing this from somebody else. I heard someone say that God put them on this world or this earth to help a man or a woman, and they don't know who that man or that woman is, so that's why they're just helping everybody. So I just want to be able to have, and I know people use the word impact, but if I can help someone in their life, like, wow, you really helped me, or a little girl, wow, you inspired me. To me, that would be my legacy, to be able to do something like that, to help somebody, to have some sort of influence and make somebody's life better. That would be what I want.
Yeah, and I heard I was speaking at a virtual event in July, uh, and one of the speakers was he'd been married for 28 years. He'd known his wife for 33 total, and they were going through a divorce or had just gone through a divorce the year prior. And he told the story of when he was talking with his daughter, his oldest daughter, and he was talking about legacy and wanting to, what kind of legacy he wanted to leave. And his daughter, I mean, God bless her, she must be pretty wise for her age to say this, but she said, "Dad, instead of worrying about leaving a legacy, why don't you live a legacy?"
Mm,
And that kind of goes with exactly what you just said. I'm put here to help one man or one woman. I don't know who it is, so I'm going to help everybody. That's kind of living that legacy that you're wanting to leave, right?
hmm hmm
So I just thought that
definitely.
was really profound for a young girl to tell her dad.
Yes, yes, because like you were saying, just let's live it now. I mean, this is, like I said before, we have one life now, and let's make it as fun as we can and make it as good as we can and help those that we can. And to me, that's what feels really good when you know you've helped somebody.
Yeah, and I do think we're all here to help others. I don't think we're all here
Mhm.
to do it for ourselves. One of the one of the reasons that my wife and I work so hard isn't for the money that we can acquire for ourselves, but it's how many other people can we help,
Right.
from that,
Mhm.
and I've told, I work with clients too, and sometimes money is their issue and their hang up. I don't have the same money management clients that you do, but you know, some of them are ashamed to have money. Some of them are ashamed to
Mhm.
even want to have money. And, I remind them, if you wanted to go into McDonald's and buy everybody a hamburger, you can't do it with your good looks and charm. You have
Right.
to have some money, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
it's not bad to
Mhm.
acquire money if you want it for the right reasons. Do you
Right.
find some of your clients have a similar hang up?
I do. I do. Especially coming from a religious side of, money. I think we've talked about this before. Money is the root of all evil, but money's really just an instrument that we use to barter or to buy and sell. So it's not really that dollar or that coin. It's who's handling it. And and I do believe that God wants us to help people, and if and He made us, He created us smart. So we can make money and we can help other people. And I think that that's a good thing.
I was having this conversation the other day with a former preacher minister, and he was trying to overcome. He was working with a coach to overcome his money mindset
Mm,
because in his ministry experience growing up, watching his dad be a minister and him being a minister and all this, they had this same anti-money view and I reminded him, I'm like, well, you're teaching the Bible, and in the Bible it's about prosperity and
right.
multiplying, not living in poverty and
Hmm.
shame. So how can you be preaching the Bible and still trying to wrestle with this, oh, I have to be poor,
Right.
syndrome? It just doesn't make sense.
No.
Why do you have to be poor? No, you should be abundant.
Right. Exactly. Because somehow some people view poor as more virtuous, I guess, but that's not what that's not what it teaches. So
No,
I totally agree with you on that.
I mean, I haven't read every line in the Bible, but I read enough, and I don't ever recall, your virtue is poverty. No.
Right. No. No, exactly. Exactly. But I do know some people that
Yeah.
act like that. So,
Yeah. So what is your biggest challenge when it comes to people changing their relationship with money, other than what we've just discussed about the poverty mindset?
um probably, I think for young people, I'm just trying to think, is especially now that everything's social media, is like maybe spending too much looking. And I remember when I was younger, I wanted to have the Gucci purse and this and that, and um but maybe spending more than what they have, but to show on social media all, the money that they have or the watch that they bought or something like that. Um, that you don't have, or the vacations, the experiences that they went on, or standing at the edge of the cliff or whatever to take a picture. I see a lot of that. People our age, which I'm a Gen X, I'm not a boomer, but I'm trying to think like with them. Theirs might be almost like living too long, because people are living, a long time now, and what they thought they were going to leave to their children isn't happening because they need it for, health reasons or assisted living or something like that. Um, and then a lot of times and I've seen this happen very recently, the adult children are thinking that they're going to get part of that money. And so those are some of the things I see with the older generation or our generation. But the younger ones, it's more of look at me on social media, look what I have kind of thing. And so maybe they're not saving what because if they started young, it would be so much easier when you get older. And I know they told me that too, and I didn't listen, but
Yeah,
um,
none of us
you
did.
know, It's like, how do you get, someone to listen when you're young like that? Because you never think you're going to get older, but it happens.
Right. Well, and they
So,
know everything right off, the
right, right,
so that,
exactly.
th- I heard somewhere that people spend the first 40 years of their life trying to acquire things and the next 40 years trying to learn how to live without those things.
Right.
It's like,
That's so
so,
true.
yeah, it's like your
That's
arc
so true.
of the relationship with money changes. Um, I know that you've been on the show before, and we had kind of a discussion about your life back then. But what's your message to other women as you start to age? Are you too old? Are you too broken? Do you have all these things that you need to be worried about, or what's your actual message to them?
Well, my message is because I think as we get older, we think, are we relevant as women? Are we, you know, maybe not as cute as we used to be? Or, I think men age gracefully. And I think women, we, it's a little difficult for us because, you know, we used to just be, even if we weren't beautiful, we used to be cute or whatever. So I think it's, um, still knowing that you're still relevant, that you're still important, and that you have value to add, you have wisdom to add to society right now. I think that's really important for women to know that. And um and if you don't have a handle on your money, see me because I can help you with that. But I just want women to know that they still are important, they still are relevant to society, and we still need them.
You said a couple of things off camera that I want you to address on camera. You said that, and again, this comes from your racing background, so but you said that the race may change, but the driver in you still knows how to win. What do you mean by that?
Mhm. Well, in life, just like that messy caterpillar, it comes in different phases. Different things happen to you. You think, oh, I'm on this track of doing something this way, and then something, boom, hits you, unexpectedly. So you still have to keep that same mentality, but it's still maybe a different race. It may not be the exact same one, but you still have to keep that, or you don't have to do anything, but you really want to keep that resilience that everything's going to be okay. Because again, I know I keep saying this, but we have one life. Let's make it a good life. Let's make this game of life fun. And it's not always going to be fun, but the majority of it can be. And though, nobody really wins at the end, but what we did in between is where we win. And so that's what I would say that means.
So I read somewhere, and I wish I knew the author, but it says your life is made up of two times: when you die and when you're born and when you die, and your life is lived in that little hashtag between, or hash mark between the two.
Hmm.
So you got to
Yep.
make that the best you possibly can. You also said off camera that you felt that the most powerful victories are often won after everything falls apart. Can
Hmm.
you elaborate a little?
Sure. So in my experience, I felt like a year ago everything fell apart, and I was even I was thinking, when am I going to get another job? What am I going to do? I just want to go to bed. Let's lay in bed and eat ice cream or something. But that's really when how you show up in life and how you can really change it or let it happen or let it flow, whatever. But show up, like get up in the morning because you never know what's going to happen that day. So it's like metal or gold, they put it in the fire to refine it and then make something beautiful. That's the way life is, I believe. So when things are just horrible or you think that they're horrible, just remember that this too shall pass. I always think about this too shall pass, and what's going to happen in 3 months. It could be completely different. So, like the caterpillar.
Life can definitely change a lot in 3 months if you really desire it. Which leads me into the final question for you, Trish. I asked it to you the
Okay.
last time you were here. I'm going to ask it to you again. Maybe it'll
Okay.
change. You have to go back and watch and see.
Okay.
What does a warrior spirit, or having a warrior spirit, mean to Trish Ramirez?
Means to be relentless and to keep going and to never get up. To get up in the morning, even when you don't want to, that's like half the battle. Get up, show up wherever it is you're supposed to show up, and to be there for others, um, and to protect others, and as much as you can, and whether it be through the podcast or inform others, educate others, but helping others. That's a warrior spirit to me. I don't know if I said that the last time.
I don't know. You have to go back and watch it. And
I have to go back and watch.
yeah, I mean, it was a year ago. We'll see. I'm going to go back
Yes.
and see.
Okay.
But I do appreciate you coming back on and joining us again this second time. I always enjoy, having these conversations with you. I think everybody needs to talk about certainly money and how it affects their lives. And they need to understand that it isn't just about the money. It's about your belief of money and how it does really intertwine with the rest of your life. So I'm always grateful that you come back on and share this stuff.
Well, thank you for having me. I had a great time. Thank you.
You bet. And if you guys want to get in touch with Trish, she has her social media platforms, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. And as always, I want to thank you for joining us on this edition of A Warrior Spirit. We're now available not only on YouTube, but also Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and all the major platforms, as well as on Wednesday evenings at 8 p.m. Eastern on Roku via the Prospera TV app. But wherever you find us, be sure to like or subscribe so you catch all the episode. And as always, the journey is sacred, the warrior is you, and remember, be inspired, be empowered, and embrace the warrior within.
It's not just about the fight, it's how we rise from it. This is your Prospera era, where dreams align with grace, abundance flows like rivers. You've stepped into your place. Rise, reign, and remember, you were born to shine. Welcome to your moment, Prospera, it's time.
We hope you enjoyed today's show on Prospera TV Network. Make it a point to visit us on YouTube and catch all your favorite shows anytime you want. Interested in hosting a show of your own? Or advertising your business on our network? Contact Elena Rodriguez.